Professor Zix had been teaching xenobiology and mythological species at the Galactic University of Kepler 442b for over 3 centuries. His 4 tentacles moved gracefully across the holographic interface as he prepared for another routine lecture on extinct and fictional civilizations. Today's topic: the legendary humans of Sol 3. The amphitheater, filled with the usual mix of students' crystalline vorthax from the Andromeda sector, gaseous pneumites floating in their containment suits, and a few young Zix clicking their mandibles in anticipation. Professor Zix-Thaol's 3 eye stalks surveyed the crowd with practiced ease. "Welcome, class, to another fascinating exploration of galactic mythology," he began, his translation device converting his chemical emissions into standard galactic. "Today, we examine one of the most ridiculous and impossible species ever conceived by primitive imagination, the mythical humans." A few students rippled with amusement. The humans were a favorite topic so absurdly designed that they served as perfect examples of why certain evolutionary paths were impossible. According to ancient legends, Zix-Thaol continued, pulling up a holographic reconstruction. These bipedal creatures supposedly evolved on a death world called Earth Ortaray. Notice the preposterous design: only 2 locomotion appendages, making them incredibly unstable. They allegedly had only 2 optical sensors, providing them with laughably poor depth perception compared to civilized species. Student Kretal, a young Vorthak whose crystalline form sparkled with curiosity, raised a geometric appendage. "Professor, didn't the myths claim they had no natural weapons? No claws, poison glands, or protective exoskeletons?" "Precisely." Zix-Thaol's eye stalks bobbed enthusiastically. According to the legends, they had soft, unprotected skin that could be damaged by their own star's radiation. They required artificial coverings called clothings to survive in most environments. Absolutely preposterous. The class erupted in what passed for laughter among various species, a symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic vibrations. "But here's the most ridiculous part," the professor continued, clearly enjoying himself. "The myths claimed these defenseless, poorly designed creatures somehow became the most dangerous predators on their planet. They allegedly developed something called persistence hunting chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. With only 2 legs. The sheer impossibility of it makes for excellent comedy." Pneumite student Gaspar floated forward slightly. "What about their supposed technological advancement, Professor?" "Ah, yes, the technological myths." Zix-Thaol's tentacles danced with glee. "Legend has it, they achieved spaceflight using controlled explosions, the most inefficient method imaginable. They supposedly never developed proper anti-gravity or quantum tunneling. Instead, they used rockets that required enormous quantities of chemical fuel just to escape their planet's weak gravity well." The amphitheater filled with the equivalent of incredulous gasps across species. Furthermore, the professor continued, mythology claimed they never achieved true hive consciousness. Each individual allegedly maintained a separate identity and made independent decisions. Can you imagine the chaos? No wonder they remained fictional. Such a species would destroy itself within generations. That's when the classroom door dilated with a soft hiss. Professor Zix-Thaol's 3 eye stalks turned toward the entrance, expecting a late student. Instead, his entire nervous system nearly shut down. 2 figures stood in the doorway. Bipedal, soft-skinned, with only 2 optical sensors each. They wore artificial coverings clothings, just as the myths described. One had yellow filaments growing from its head, the other had brown. They stood upright, on only 2 appendages, somehow maintaining perfect balance. "Sorry we're late," said the yellow filamented one in perfect standard galactic. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Federation vessel Endeavour. This is Commander James Rodriguez." We heard you were discussing humans? The amphitheater fell into absolute silence. Professor Zix-Taol's 3 hearts stopped beating in sequence. His blue-green complexion shifted to a sickly orange. That's impossible," he whispered. "You can't be real. Humans are mythological. They're fictional." Captain Chen smiled, another mythological behavior that supposedly indicated friendliness among the impossible species. "Well, Professor, we just achieved faster than light travel last month, using something we call an Alcubierre drive. We've been exploring local systems and picked up educational broadcasts from your university. We thought we'd introduce ourselves." Commander Rodriguez stepped forward, somehow maintaining balance on his absurd 2-leg design. "We're particularly interested in joining the galactic community. We bring greetings from the 8 billion humans of Earth and our 12 colony worlds." 12 colony worlds. Zix-Taol's voice came out as a barely audible chemical whisper. "Oh yes," Chen nodded. "We've been quite busy. Mars, Europa, Titan, Proxima Centauri b, Kepler 452b. We're expanding pretty rapidly. Humans are quite good at adapting to hostile environments." Student Kretal's crystalline form was vibrating at frequencies indicating extreme confusion. "But Professor, you said they couldn't exist. No claws, no armor, no hive mind." "We make tools," Rodriguez explained cheerfully, "and we work together through something we call cooperation and communication. Individual consciousness actually gives us quite a lot of flexibility in problem solving." Chen pulled out a small device. "This is what we call our smartphone. It contains more computing power than your university's quantum processors from 50 years ago. We mass-produce billions of them." Professor Zix-Taol felt his tenure evaporating before his eye stalks. 3 centuries of teaching, and he'd been lecturing about a real species as if they were mythological creatures. His academic reputation was dissolving faster than a pneumite in hard vacuum. But you're supposed to be impossible," he protested weakly. Chen exchanged glances with Rodriguez. "Professor, we've survived ice ages, supervolcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and our own nuclear weapons. We've eliminated diseases that plagued us for millennia, put thinking machines in our pockets, and figured out how to bend space-time. Impossible is just another engineering challenge." As word spread through the university's quantum communication network, Professor Zix-Taol realized his worst day was about to become legendary throughout the galaxy. The species he'd taught as mythological had just shown up to correct his curriculum. "So," Captain Chen said, with that terrifying human smile, "mind if we sit in on the rest of the lecture? We're curious to hear what the galaxy thinks we can't do. We might want to add those to our to-do list." Professor Zix-Taol promptly fainted, his tentacles going limp as he collapsed behind his lectern. In the amphitheater, 8 billion humans had just become the galaxy's newest and most impossible reality.